Hello, it is time for the Science Live session for today. Welcome. My name is Amy Defoe. I'm one of the science teachers here at Graduation Alliance. Hope you're having a good one. So today we're going to talk about super important concept throughout science. We're going to look at photosynthesis. We're also going to talk about kind of our skill portion of it. We're going to take a look at observations today. So we're going to look at photosynthesis and observations. So photosynthesis, the big chunk of it is coming from our biology courses. But again, photosynthesis, as we're going to see, kind of parts of everything that has to do with science and life and living and energy comes with that photosynthesis. So we see it widespread throughout all the science courses. And same thing with observations. You know, we make observations in our daily lives. So we're going to take a look at that, why they're important, and some examples about that. So before we get started, some housekeeping items to talk about. So these sessions are being recorded. They're being recorded so that in case maybe this time is not an appropriate time for you and you weren't able to attend it, you'll have the opportunity to go to our Teacher Mentor YouTube page, and you can check out all the live sessions that are there and available to you, so you can view them at a time that's more appropriate for you. Because of course we want to make this convenient and helpful for you. Also, maybe you're not there in photosynthesis. Maybe you're not in biology yet. These recordings are going to be set there in that YouTube channel so that, when you're ready, when you come to it, you can go as you're working through your lessons, your activities, and you can be like, oh, this is a pretty cool topic. I wonder, let me check out that YouTube channel and see what other information is there. Maybe teacher did one on it. And sure enough, I bet you there will be one there for you. Same thing when it comes to assignments and activities. I think pretty much the majority, if not all of the science activities, have some type of a live session attached to them. So if you're ever feeling stuck, one, you can always ask a teacher for help. We love getting that interaction with you, here to help you, support you, but also these live sessions. We go through some of the assignments and activities, walk you through it, make sure you understand what is needed and what's not. So sometimes you have a question like that, you can go straight to the live session and take a look at that. Okay. So these are, you can see me here. You can mute your video so you can turn that off so you don't have to see. And then you also have the opportunity to turn off your audio. So, if you got some background knowledge, I always say that, background knowledge, good to have background knowledge. And we talk about that a lot in science too, but background noises, please do mute yourself so it doesn't come across on the recording or distract others here, okay? But with that being said, I do enjoy having that feedback and that conversation that we get here, coming from an online school. We have these live sessions so that we can enhance that and engage with that one-to-one interaction. So please do have feedback, ask questions, give comments, okay? And you can do that two different ways. You can just unmute yourself and you can talk out loud. You, of course, can also use their chat box. So down there, you can click on the chat and you can type in whatever mode of communication works for you. Just like to hear from you. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So here's our little agenda. I'm going to talk say about 15 minutes about photosynthesis, and then I'll open it up for questions. So 2 question and answer periods in this live session. And it could be questions that we have about photosynthesis. It could be also questions that just come up that, you're coming to this live session because you've been wondering about something or you wanted to get that immediate feedback. That's what these live sessions are for too. So you can ask questions about any topic or activity. Then we'll go into our skill, look at observations, and then we'll end with questions. Make sure you're set to go. Okay, let's go with photosynthesis. Look at the word photosynthesis. What does it mean to you? How would you describe it? So maybe you haven't heard about photosynthesis before. You're not there quite yet. How would you describe that word? And of course I used some, I tried to give you some little clues and hints here. Take a look at the image, try and break that word down. Do you notice any parts of the words that you might know? So yes, as you can see, photo is light. So think of like photography, photos, we're using light to capture something, okay? Synthesize is to use or to make up, or the transfer of. So we put those two together with photosynthesis, it's to use light to make energy. And then we get our big definitions, right? You go into, do a search on Google and you look at a definition or you pull up your encyclopedia and you get these definitions. The process by which green plants and some other organisms use sunlight to synthesize foods from carbon dioxide and water. Photosynthesis in plants generally involves the green pigment chlorophyll and generates oxygen as a byproduct. So it gets a little bit more complex there. So let's break that down. Okay, it's the process by which green plants and some other organisms use sunlight to synthesize foods from carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so here we've got what we call producers. We've got green plants and some other organisms. These are going to be pretty simple single-celled organisms and bacteria and protists that are going to be able to produce or generate, use sunlight to produce food, okay? And that tells us here that there's a couple things that you need so it doesn't poof happen. It's kind of like a recipe, right? So for photosynthesis to take place, you have to have sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. So think about all the things. If you're trying to grow a plant outside, growing some vegetables, these are all the things that you need to provide them with as well, okay? Photosynthesis in plants, it generally takes place and involves this chemical. It's called a green pigment called chlorophyll, and that's found in the chloroplast of the cells. We're going to get there. And then it tells you there's a byproduct. So with this chemical reaction, we get byproducts, right? A waste product, oxygen. So think about, why is that important? Well, photosynthesis is considered one of the most important biological processes on Earth because it provides the energy for life on this planet. Think about it. Can you make your own food? Yeah, you can go to the kitchen, right? And you can cook up some food real good. But can your body actually, can you sit out in the sun and make energy? No, it'll probably take more energy, huh? Okay, so that's why it's so important is that there's only certain types of organisms that can photosynthesize, that can produce food by using sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, okay? Another important thing, if you caught that, oxygen is that byproduct, that waste product, it takes carbon dioxide in from the air and it puts oxygen back into the atmosphere. So important because if we think about it, we're opposite, right? We need oxygen. And then when we breathe out, we give off carbon dioxide. So it's like a trade, right? We're working together on this. I like it. Okay, so autotrophs and heterotrophs. And this is also known as producers and consumers, so to speak. So organisms that are capable of making their own food using energy and raw materials in the environment are called autotrophs. Again, these organisms, nice bold there, are also called producers. The ones that utilize the sun's energy are photoautotrophs. There you have that root word again, photo meaning light. Plants photosynthesize their photoautotrophs. Like I said, it also includes some bacteria and some algae that can also photosynthesize. All the other organisms in the ecosystem, including animals, ourselves, are heterotrophs. We cannot directly use the sun to make food. Instead, we rely on consuming other organisms to fuel our bodies. And then we have to go and break it down and go into that cellular respiration, which is another live session topic, but you're going to see how these interact with each other. Okay, so there we go. Heterotrophs, also called consumers. Sum it up, producers, autotrophs, they have the ability to use the sunlight to produce their own food. Consumers cannot. They rely on other organisms. Steps to photosynthesis. So how does this happen? So all things respire and release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, even plants do as well. This carbon dioxide is then used by plants to make sugar or food. As plants go through photosynthesis, they also produce oxygen and release it into the atmosphere. So let's take a look at this diagram. The energy required for photosynthesis and all other life comes from the sun. So we've talked about this and you've seen it throughout the science courses as well as live sessions. We always rely so heavily on the sun as we think about, oops, did I lose you? Sorry guys, I clicked out of there. Let me come back up. I wanted to make my screen just a little bit bigger here for you. There we go. The sun is just being a basis for so many important cycles and interactions and systems on our planet. We think about the water cycle. Okay, a kind of driving force here. Okay, so the sun must continually input energy into the ecosystem. So as we think about it, you know, every day as the earth is facing the sun, we're getting that, the sun's ultraviolet rays, we're getting that energy from the sun. okay? Plants can't create energy, but they can transform the energy. So it's not like they just, like I said, poof, make it. It's this transformation. There's a reaction that takes place, okay? And there's a couple things that need to occur here, okay? Again, plants can't create the energy, but they transform the energy of the sun into chemical energy in the form of glucose. You've probably heard of glucose before. It's a simple sugar. This food or sugar is either used by the plant for its own growth or reproduction needs, or it's stored for later use. So as you think about it, thinking about a plant growing, and thinking about yourself growing, we all need sugar. We all need an energy source to make our cells grow, multiply, continue to develop. And that takes energy, okay? We talk about it being stored. Well, a plant can store its energy as it grows. Think about it. Stores it in the stem, in the leaves, okay? Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at this picture. We have the sun's energy coming down. We have carbon dioxide being inhaled or brought into this plant. We've got water, okay? So we've got the three inputs here: energy, carbon dioxide, water, all coming into this plant. We've got this green pigment called chlorophyll in the cells of these producers. We get a chemical reaction, photosynthesis takes place, and we get glucose and oxygen as the waste products. Okay, so the process of photosynthesis, let's look at a couple different ways. Here we've got two different equations. We've got the word version of it and then kind of the chemical equation to it. So we've got 6 CO2, which is carbon dioxide, plus 6 H2O, which is water, plus energy, chemical reaction. So that arrow tells us kind of the transformation is taking place in that reaction, produces glucose, carbon 6, hydrogen 12, oxygen 6 is what we call glucose. And you get oxygen, 6 CO2. So again, that's the chemical equation of it. We write it out kind of using words. We get carbon dioxide plus water, energy from the sun, chemical reaction, we get glucose and oxygen. Okay, so here's inputs on the left side, outputs on the right side, okay? So another way to look at it is, well, what do you need for photosynthesis to take place? Carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight, which is our energy. What does it produce as an output or a waste product? The transformation, glucose, and oxygen. Where does this occur in plants? So we talked about this kind of chlorophyll again. The green parts of plants where photosynthesis happens, primarily the stem structure of a plant. You can take a look at that little picture, okay? You've got this wide surface area of a leaf, okay? That leaf is shining out to absorb that sun's energy. You think about it, if the leaf was just like a little stem, there's not a whole lot of surface area to absorb the sun's energy. So again, nice wide surface area like those leaves are going to be very helpful for photosynthesis to take place. What do these plants have? Well, again, we talked about this green pigment called chlorophyll, okay? Chlorophyll is found in the chloroplast of cells. So in plant cells, they have a couple differences than, say, animal cells. One is they have the chloroplasts that contain the chlorophyll, and this is where photosynthesis takes place. They also have a cell wall and a cell membrane and a cell wall. So they kind of have an extra layer of protection on the outside. We talked about things coming out. Hello, welcome. We're just talking about photosynthesis here. So we talked about where's this happening at, and we talk about the pores, okay? We've got pores in our skin. You can probably see them pretty clearly in your, on your face. But as you think about it, like you sweat, that's moisture, water coming out of your water and other materials coming out of your pores as a waste product and output, okay? Same thing with plants. Plants have pores too, okay? And that's where, the carbon dioxide is coming in and oxygen is coming out. So chlorophyll is a green photosynthetic pigment that has the ability to absorb light. This absorbed light energy is then used to change the carbon dioxide into sugar that plants can use or store as starch. Chlorophyll is found inside the chloroplasts or plant cells. the chloroplast of plant cells. Remember that chlorophyll does not make energy, but it does have the amazing ability to absorb the sun's light and begin the process of transforming that light energy to chemical energy in the form of sugar. So again, you have to have this recipe. You've got to have sunlight, you've got to have water, carbon dioxide, and you've got to have chlorophyll to absorb that sun's light. Then you get that chemical reaction. Then you get the waste product of sugar and oxygen. Okay, a couple little questions. Plants produce this gas during photosynthesis. So again, think about it. We talked about hand in hand. We're kind of opposites, plants and humans. So plants produce this gas during photosynthesis. What do we need? Oxygen. You got it. Photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast of plant cells. That is true. That's where that chlorophyll is kept. Which of the following is a heterotroph? So again, a heterotroph is a consumer, not an autotroph, not a producer. Which of the following is a heterotroph? Cyanobacteria, a fir tree, a gopher, a dandelion. If you said gopher, you are right. A gopher is an heterotroph. It's a consumer, just like we are. Plants appear green because the pigment chlorophyll absorbs and uses the colors of the light but reflects green. That is true. Okay. Plants can create their own energy. Are they the chosen ones, the special ones? They are, and they are so important to our Earth, so important to the ecosystems because, again, they're kind of that first layer as we think about of the food chain and also of the carbon cycle of producing that, taking that carbon in and producing oxygen. What molecule is the carbon input from carbon dioxide incorporated into during photosynthesis? What molecule is the carbon input from carbon dioxide incorporated into? So what's that waste product? So carbon dioxide is used up by the plant in photosynthesis. What does it become? You can take a look at this picture. Carbon dioxide comes in, oxygen is released. Chlorophyll is, what color is chlorophyll? Well, let's look at this plant. What color is it? Green. Chlorophyll is the main photosynthetic pigment. That is correct. So again, this is what absorbs that sun's energy. Number 9 here, photosynthesis is considered one of the most important biological processes on Earth. It provides the energy for life on this planet. It takes carbon dioxide from the air and it puts it back into the atmosphere. Is that true or false? Again, yes, it is one of the most important biological processes on Earth. Again, providing that energy. Think of the foods that we eat. Where do they come from? What's the basis of our diets, these producers? And again, it takes carbon dioxide, which we give off as a waste product. And think about all the other pollution that we put into the air, and it puts oxygen back in. The absorbed light energy by plants is then used to change carbon dioxide into sugar that plants can use or store as starch. Okay, so when we think about, you might maybe taken a nutrition or a health class, or you've heard about, the food pyramid, and they talk about starchy vegetables. Okay, that's what we're talking about, the things that you eat, okay? That's that starch, that's where it's stored at. Awesome, okay. So again, talking about photosynthesis being such a huge foundation and important biological step into, the creation and the upkeep of Earth and all of its systems that keep going here. We rely so much on photosynthesis to take place. If we took away the sun, we wouldn't have photosynthesis. If we took away producers, what would we eat? And think about that transformation of carbon. Pretty cool. So definitely photosynthesis, super important to us. And then photosynthesis also goes into, like I said before, that cellular respiration, which we'll talk about. Again, cellular respiration is then how do we use that sugar that's produced, okay? And then talking about the carbon cycle. So with the carbon cycle, it's the transformation of carbon, and it's done by two primary processes, photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this topic or another topic? Okay, if you have questions, please go ahead and chime in, or you can send me a chat. Again, I'm going to move on to observations, and I'll come back to questions at the end, and I'll leave that a little bit wider open for you guys, some more time there. So, science skill observation. So as we think about science, we've got kind of the information portion of it, the concepts, right? What your lessons are about, but we also have these skills: synthesizing, analyzing, and observations, 1, 2. So this comes from activity 4.2.1, looking at photosynthesis. We actually do some observations. What is an observation and why is it useful to us? Can you think of examples of observations you might make? So funny is we make observations all day long. Right? When we attempt to wake up, we hear that alarm and we look and we're like, is it really time to wake up? So you kind of look around, is it light out? I don't know. And then you get ready to, you get dressed for your day. You make an observation by looking outside. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is it sunny? Is it warm? You make these observations to help you figure out what's going to come next, or what you should prepare for, or what it's going to be like. Okay, kind of answers these questions that we have. Okay, observing, using one or more of your senses to gather information. Okay, so we can make observations. Thinking about it, we usually think about using our eyes, but we can also observe things by how they feel or how they smell. Okay, and it involves using tools to make observations. It can be quantitative observations involving the numbers, like she's watching 2 chimps, or I saw the ball bounce 3 times. So again, quantitative, we can use numbers. Qualitative observations involve characteristics or quality of the thing being observed. So we're giving details about that thing. The chimps are sitting on the ground. The sky is blue. It's very sunny outside today. We're giving details about the characteristics that we see. So qualitative and quantitative. When we think about conducting science and scientific investigation, one of the process steps in there is making these observations, and it includes gathering, interpreting data that we have around us. So data is our evidence. It's what answers the question for us. Okay. Once that data is collected and recorded, it can be analyzed to determine, what the answer is to your question, or if your hypothesis was right or wrong. So again, it's the whole idea of interpreting data. Okay, gathering that evidence, which is your data, and again, it can be in the form of observations that you make by looking, using qualitative, or by counting, quantitative. Okay, let's take a look. Let me open up. Let me share this screen here with you. Okay, so this comes from activity 421, photosynthesis. It says, watch the video being below showing a simple demonstration of photosynthesis in action. What you are seeing is the cut stem of an aquatic plant called an elota. This plant is found in pond environments. You will see the effect that a change in light intensity has on gas production. The number of bubbles formed in a given period of time are the measure of the rate of photosynthesis. So we're going to watch a little video and make observations on what's happening with this plant. Again, we're going to look at how light affects gas production. So as we think about our variables in an investigation, we're going to change the light intensity. So think about growing plants. You can change the light intensity to see how photosynthesis takes place, if it affects it. And you're going to know that by the growth of the plant, or if it dies. Okay, so we're manipulating the light intensity to see how it has an effect on gas production, which is the responding variable. We manipulate light to see how gas production responds. Now we're looking at these bubbles, because remember, photosynthesis, what it produces is gas. And so when you're in a water environment, the gas is going to come out and form a bubble as it moves up to the surface. Okay? So we have a couple questions that we're going to look at here. What gas is being released from the plant? What is the relationship between light intensity and gas production? Okay, let me go over to a bigger screen. Let's take a look at this. Let me stop it here because I get this question all the time. There's no sound. That's right, there is no sound. We're making observations using our eyes. So we're visually observing what's happening with this plant. So again, the sound is not there. Okay, so here we can see. Let's start it over. Sorry about that. Okay, we've got the light source. Notice the bubbles coming up. Oh, light goes off. Bubbles. Light comes back on. Bubbles. Lots of bubbles. So again, that gas is being produced when we have that light on. You can see it as the bubbles rising up to that surface. Bubbles are slowing down. Light intensity must be decreasing. Light goes off. No bubbles. Light comes back on. Bubbles on. Okay, there we go. So going back to our questions, I love that little observation experiment. Just, oops, let's turn that. That's not what we want. Let's move back over. Sorry, bear with me. Oops, and I just messed it up. Sorry, guys. Let me pull that up. I'm so sorry. Okay. I love that because it's so plain and simple. You can see the bubbles when that light comes on, there's bubbles going. And then as soon as that light goes off, done for. Okay. Good observations there. So what gas is being released? What do we know about photosynthesis? What do we know about plants? Yep. The gas that is being released is oxygen. Okay, oxygen is the waste product, the byproduct, the output in photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is used up, oxygen is giving out. So those bubbles are bubbles of oxygen. What is the relationship between light intensity and gas production? Well, when there was lots of light, what happened to the bubbles? Lots of light, lots of bubbles. No light, no bubbles. Okay, so they're hand in hand. They go right together. If you have light, you have more gas production. Less light, less gas production. They're very reliant on each other. Now take a look at this graph. The rate of photosynthesis, as determined by oxygen bubbles produced, is graphs versus the light intensity. So this is just kind of a written form of what we just observed. Here's our light intensity. Light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis rising up. Okay, so we have no light, we have no photosynthesis. As light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis increases as well. So again, they're very dependent on each other. As light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis takes place. So as we think about, it's winter here, but there's lots of light. But the plants, they're not really growing a whole lot, right? So we have to take that in consideration as we think about the kind of the quality of that sun. But when we think about in the summertime, right, when we have that whole real heavy light intensity, the sun's rays are more intense, that rate of photosynthesis, the growth of the plants takes place so much more. Okay, so again, hand in hand, We must have light for photosynthesis to take place. We must have that sun's energy to start the driving force of photosynthesis. And thinking about the whole foundation of our kind of our survival. Thinking about what do we need, plants for? Well, producing the energy that we need from the food sources, like the bottom of our food chain, as well as that transformation of those gases, taking in carbon, producing oxygen. Pretty cool. I love photosynthesis because it's like, oh my gosh, we mesh together, right? Like peanut butter and jelly, right? Organisms, animals, organisms that consumers, we'll say that consumers, rely so much on those producers. And producers, they rely on us too, right? They need that carbon that we're giving them. Okay, guys, let me come back here. It always goes away. Hold tight. Oh. Are we still there? Yes, okay, good, we are. I was like, wait a minute. I just can't find my presentation again. Let me close this down. There it is. Okay, back on. Short little technical difficulties there. Okay, so again, moving forward as we think about why is this so important, again, we make observations in our daily lives to, kind of gather information about what's happening as our evidence, as our data, to then be able to answer a question. In the sense of talking about photosynthesis again being one of the most important biological systems here on Earth, again, because again, we have those plants that are able to absorb that sunlight along with carbon dioxide and water and able to produce their own food. Again, the foundation for our whole entire kind of food chain is we rely on those producers to produce food that we can eat, other organisms can eat, we then eat other organisms. So it's a whole chain of effects that take place. Add that with the gas production, they need carbon dioxide, we need oxygen. It goes hand in hand. We produce carbon dioxide as we breathe out as a waste product. Plants, on the other hand, they need that carbon. They produce oxygen as a waste product. Pretty cool. Okay, does anybody have any questions about what we just talked about, photosynthesis, making observations, or any other questions that you might have? Again, with your questions, you are totally more than welcome to, you can use the chat function. You can type in if you have a question, or you can unmute yourself, whatever is your preferred method. As we think about moving forward, and please continue if you've got questions coming in, I'll take a look. I'm just going to keep talking though. We have these live sessions, which are great for you to come, get some more information, say hi to me. I can say hi to you, see face to face, but also you can get that one-to-one. But in the meantime, don't wait if there's a live session. You're like, oh, Mrs. Defoe, you're not back on until next Tuesday. What am I going to do? Well, you've got lots of different options. You have this great support system here at GA that you can get responses pretty darn immediate. You can send me chat messages, all your teachers chat messages, emails, Google Voice, whatever is your preferred method of choice. And we would love to be happy to help you, support you. Again, our goal here is to help you get your credits, get on, get to your goals in life, okay? So please don't ever hesitate to ask a question. I always feel like sometimes just having somebody reword something, a direction or a concept, or explain the picture a little bit different, or if you need more resources, we'll be happy to do that for you. But again, just having that just difference explanation can make the world a difference of getting that kind of click and aha. So please, we're here to help. No question is too small. Again, if you've got an idea about an activity, you maybe prefer to change something up, or you're not really sure how to answer it, send us a message. We're here for you. Okay. Also thinking ahead with live sessions. If you've got a topic in mind that you'd like more information on, you'd love to see a live session on, please let me know. I'm always game for having ideas, love getting feedback about what is helpful for you, because that's what these live sessions are for, is for you. Able for me to help you guys get what you need. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can tell me here, you can send me, again, same thing. Send me a message, let me know your information. Okay. Well, I hope you are enjoying your science classes. And again, I'll be looking. If you have any feedback or any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, have a great week in science and in your other courses and in life. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.